This is IGN. A seasoned Lee Jung-jae leads Netflix's biggest hit to a flawed but fitting conclusion. This is your IGN review of Squid Game Season 3 by Shannon Miller. The secret sauce of Netflix's Squid Game is the crafty way it balances the thrills of a binge-worthy streaming drama with the brutal agony and potent social commentary of down-on-their-luck characters risking their lives in a potentially lucrative series of amped-up children's games. It's a tricky thing to navigate, the inherent tragedy of it all never dampening our curiosity about how the arena will test its players next. My main question going into the mega hit's third and final season: how will creator and writer Hwang Dong-hyuk keep piquing that curiosity without making us numb to all the death and destruction or burying the message that made his show so resonant? The answer? By driving home the cruelties of this system with the same cinematic flair that made Squid Game a hit in the first place, albeit with a few clumsily executed cringe-inducing choices. The premiere returns us to the arena's bloodied corridor immediately after the previous season's shootout between the rebelling players, led by battered survivor Ji-hoon, played by Lee Jung-jae, and the pink jumpsuited guards. After seeing the game's frontman, played by Lee Byung-hun, order the death of his closest ally, Jung-bae, played by Lee Seo-hwan, Ji-hoon becomes a visibly grief-stricken shell of his former, more determined self. Lee offers a convincingly chilling depiction of a once fiery crusader grappling with this failed mission to end the games for good. As Ji-hoon becomes overtaken with guilt and quiet rage, he nails the complexities of a person battling the forces aligned against him and, at times, losing. The momentary cracks in Ji-hoon's moral resolve are distressing, but also surprisingly grounding. He's way more relatable than a hero who unwaveringly commits to taking the high road. We see a real shift play out in what's arguably Squid Game's most harrowing game, which pits players against each other more overtly than ever before. With the players split into two opposing teams, one group is tasked with killing the other in a high-stakes rendition of hide-and-seek. In comparison to more metaphorical games that came before it, this one gets a little too literal, putting actual daggers in the players' hands. Part of the intrigue in past games was due to players making split-second decisions to save their hides. Here, the choice is essentially stripped from them, but it still contains some of Squid Game's harshest heartbreaks and lessons. Chief among those lessons, good intentions never guarantee a hero's ending, or that they'll remain good for long. The game's biggest reveal, however, is that of the wealthy VIPs masquerading as Squid Game guards. Previously seen only briefly in Season 1, the VIP's increased involvement in the games makes them a prominent part of Season 3. Their participation leads to one of the season's biggest weaknesses, not because their gleefulness cranks up the brutality in any meaningful way, but because their cringe-inducing dialogue and almost cartoonishly villainous line delivery clashes with their co-star's sincerity. Beyond that, their insights, which mostly amount to recaps of what we just watched unfold, are almost entirely unnecessary, and on a show that maintained a decent pace up to this point, the VIP's addition feels a lot like filler. Its only saving grace is that it becomes the source of a pivotal development in the game when Jun-hee, played by Jo Yoo-ri, unexpectedly gives birth and the rich spectators vote to make the baby not so much a bundle of joy, but a bit of a weird computer animation from what I can tell, a new player. Apart from giving certain players a renewed reason to survive and raising questions about how exactly a newborn can compete in the Squid Game, the baby is a brilliant, devastating show of the trauma handed down from parent to child. As her fate is left up to a soulless system and desperate opponents, she brings a 21st century disregard for children into alarming focus. Squid Game finds its way to a memorable ending, but not without some notable hang-ups. New games and cycles of trauma drive home the cruelty of this universe in novel ways, and Lee Jung-jae wraps up his iconic portrayal of Ji-hoon in stunning fashion. Some of Season 3's twists manage to cleverly and punishingly illustrate the long-lasting ripple effects of a capitalist hellscape, while others, like expanded roles for the wealthy VIPs watching and wagering on the games, add unnecessary noise. This final chapter isn't without its flaws, but it still delivers the suspense and cinematic polish that made Squid Game a hit in the first place. Squid Game Season 3's IGN score? 7 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson. And for the latest Squid Game updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.